Yo Gotti's brother is gone after getting shot outside a Memphis restaurant on January 13th, 2024, around 4:15 in the afternoon, right in broad daylight during a funeral gathering and repast. The streets instantly started talking and people began pointing at rumors about a bounty connected to the whole situation. According to what's being said online and around Memphis, the man allegedly tied to the incident reacted after hearing there was money placed on his head, supposedly connected to Yo Gotti's side of the family. Folks are saying this started a dangerous cycle that still hasn't cooled off. Here's where the story gets heavy. Big Jook, whose real name was Anthony Mims and who was known as Yo Gotti's brother, was often described as somebody handling business behind the scenes for CMG. For years, rumors kept spreading that a $100,000 bounty was tied to Young Dolph before his tragic passing on November 17, 2021, inside Makita's Butter Cookies in Memphis. Dolph had reportedly been there supporting the community and helping with a Thanksgiving turkey giveaway when two men came inside and opened fire. The entire city was shaken after that moment, and people have been debating the connections ever since. Now jump ahead to 2024 and Big Jook loses his life himself. Street chatter and social media posts instantly began connecting what happened to him with payback tied to Dolph's passing. Then things got even crazier when reports and rumors started spreading that Yo Gotti allegedly placed money on the person believed to be tied to what happened to Jook. That's why so many people are calling this situation a non-stop cycle of revenge and payback. People in Memphis keep saying this goes way beyond music and rap drama. One situation allegedly sparked another and then another after that, creating a chain reaction full of tension, fear, and violence. The blogs only show pieces of the story, but the streets keep acting like there's way more happening behind closed doors than the public really knows. Stay locked in, because to really understand this situation, you gotta go all the way back. Big Jook was never just Yo Gotti's brother, like people on social media keep saying. That's only the surface of the story. Anthony Big Jook Mims was 47 years old when he passed away, and in Memphis he was viewed as one of the major figures connected to CMG, the label Yo Gotti helped build from nothing into a huge name in hip-hop. While Gotti was the public face everybody recognized, people around the city often described Jook as somebody with serious influence behind the scenes. He showed up at CMG concerts, events, video shoots, and industry gatherings all the time. Folks in Memphis believed he had strong connections and respect in the streets, and in that city, reputation means everything. People who knew the environment say major decisions carried weight, and once problems started, the consequences could last for years. Now here's where things really started heating up. CMG wasn't looked at as just a music label to a lot of fans and people around Memphis. It became a brand, a movement, and something supporters proudly stood behind. But there was one rapper who constantly challenged that image in public without backing down, and that was Young Dolph. The tension between Dolph and Yo Gotti became one of the biggest rivalries Memphis hip-hop had seen in years, and everybody noticed it. Back in the day, Yo Gotti reportedly wanted Young Dolph to sign with CMG because Dolph already had momentum, attention, and strong support from the streets. But Dolph decided to go another route and stay independent instead. That choice became a huge part of his image and career. He built his name on doing things his own way and not depending on major label systems. In an August 2014 interview on Sway in the Morning, Dolph even spoke publicly about staying independent and believing in himself instead of signing deals. Young Dolph made it clear he wanted to bet on himself instead of signing with anybody else, and at the same time people started feeling tension building between him and Yo Gotti. Gotti never publicly admitted he was upset about Dolph turning down CMG, but fans and people around Memphis kept talking like there was definitely tension behind the scenes. Dolph didn't stay quiet about it either, and by early 2016 the rivalry had fully gone public. In February 2016, Dolph jumped on Twitter and posted, "Bra went from being my #1 fan and wanting to sign me to being my biggest hater." That message spread everywhere online in Memphis and instantly had people picking sides. Then things got even louder when Dolph dropped his debut album called King of Memphis. That title grabbed attention because Yo Gotti had already been strongly connected to that nickname for years. A lot of fans saw Dolph's move as a direct challenge, like he was stepping into the spotlight and claiming the crown for himself. From there, the tension between both camps became impossible to ignore. In Memphis, titles and respect carry serious meaning, especially in the rap scene and street culture. While Gotti mostly stayed quiet publicly, social media exchanges and comments from people connected to both sides kept adding more pressure to the situation. Around March 2016, Black Youngsta also added fuel to the rivalry after posting videos and messages online aimed at Dolph, including clips filmed in South Memphis that quickly started circulating everywhere. Dolph responded online with a laughing emoji and a thumbs down like none of the threats were getting to him. He looked completely unfazed, and fans could see the tension between both sides getting more serious by the month. Then in February 2017, things exploded even more when Dolph released Play with Yo Gotti. The track immediately stirred controversy because he directly referenced Yo Gotti, even calling him Ho Gotti in the song. The music video also featured somebody dressed to resemble Gotti, and social media went crazy over it. Then came a shocking moment that had everybody talking. Just one day after the video dropped, Young Dolph's bulletproof SUV was hit with more than 100 shots in Charlotte, North Carolina. The situation instantly made national headlines because of how extreme it was. Reports later connected a vehicle involved in the incident to Black Youngsta through a rental agreement. Youngsta later turned himself into authorities, but the legal case did not lead to a conviction, and the situation remained heavily debated online and in the streets. Only months later, in September 2017, Dolph was shot again outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles. He suffered multiple injuries but survived the attack, which shocked fans across the country. Authorities briefly detained a man named Corey McClendon, who was reported to have connections to Yo Gotti's circle near the scene. He was later released without charges, and the investigation eventually lost momentum. Yo Gotti denied any involvement, and no direct link was proven publicly. Even after all that chaos, Dolph kept pushing forward with his music career. His independent grind kept getting bigger, his albums performed well, and Paper Route Empire continued building momentum in the rap world. Fans respected how he stayed focused and kept moving despite all the drama surrounding him, but even though the public disses slowed down after a while, people around Memphis still believed the tension never truly disappeared. Between 2018 and 2021, things looked calmer on the surface, but many felt the rivalry had simply moved behind closed doors while both sides stayed active in their own lanes. At least from the outside, it looked like the situation had cooled down, but behind the scenes, people believed the tension never really disappeared. Later court discussions and reports painted a picture of a rivalry that still carried serious resentment. Prosecutors claimed that Young Dolph's music and public comments had directly targeted CMG, Big Jook, and people connected to Yo Gotti's circle. In that environment, public disrespect was viewed as something people did not easily forget. According to statements presented in court, CMG had once wanted Dolph connected to the label, but he chose to stay independent and build his own movement instead. That decision turned into something much bigger over time, because Dolph didn't just succeed alone. He created his own brand with Paper Route Empire and helped other artists rise too. PRE started gaining real momentum, and names like Key Glock were becoming major voices in Memphis and beyond. Fans saw Dolph's movement as proof that independent artists could compete without signing to bigger labels. Prosecutors also claimed there were alleged bounty discussions connected to multiple PRE affiliates, including reported figures tied to Key Glock and Paper Route Woo. Those claims became one of the most talked about parts of the case online because people believed the rivalry had shifted far beyond music. To many watching from the outside, the conflict started looking tied to reputation, power, influence, and business competition all at the same time. By 2021, Young Dolph was at one of the highest points of his career. He had money, respect, loyal fans, and strong support in Memphis because of the way he gave back to the community. His album Rich Slave reached number 4 on the Billboard 200, and his independent success made him stand out even more in the rap world. A lot of people felt like he had become untouchable, but then Thanksgiving week arrived and everything changed in a way that shocked the entire city. Many people later described what happened next as something they believed was organized and carefully planned rather than random chaos. According to testimony presented in court, the two men accused in the case, Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson, allegedly knew Young Dolph would be back in Memphis during Thanksgiving week in 2021. Dolph had been involved in community events, including a turkey giveaway, and prosecutors said the suspects were paying attention to his movements ahead of time. During testimony, Cornelius Smith reportedly stated, "We knew he had a turkey drive all week. We just ain't know when we was gonna get him." That statement instantly caught attention because of how direct it sounded. People following the case later described the situation as something that appeared carefully watched and planned over time. On November 17, 2021, Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., known worldwide as Young Dolph, stopped at Makita's Butter Cookies on Airways Boulevard in South Memphis. He was reportedly there picking up cookies in the city he always represented proudly. According to courtroom testimony, Smith claimed he saw Dolph standing near the window before chaos erupted outside the bakery. Prosecutors said Smith allegedly used a semi-automatic item while Justin Johnson was accused of taking part in the attack alongside him. In the middle of the chaos, Dolph's brother reportedly returned fire from outside the location and allegedly struck Smith multiple times. Even with that exchange, the attack ended in tragedy. Young Dolph lost his life at only 36 years old, right near the neighborhoods connected to his upbringing and the city he constantly shouted out in his music. The reaction was immediate and emotional across hip-hop and throughout Memphis. Fans gathered outside the cookie shop, murals and memorials started appearing, and social media exploded with questions about who may have been responsible for what happened to him. Rumors spread fast online and in the streets as people searched for answers. That's also when investigators and internet detectives began connecting different names, past rivalries, and old tensions that many believed had been building for years behind the scenes. After Young Dolph's passing, Memphis police launched one of the biggest investigations the city had seen in years. The case drew national attention and authorities moved fast, trying to track down everyone allegedly involved. Within weeks, Justin Johnson, also known by his rap name Straight Drop, was arrested along with Cornelius Smith. Investigators later arrested Hernandez Govan too, accusing him of conspiracy and claiming he allegedly helped organize the attack behind the scenes. Then the courtroom testimony started changing everything people thought they knew. During the trials, details came out publicly that sent shockwaves across social media and the hip-hop world. On September 23, 2024, Cornelius Smith took the stand and admitted he was one of the people involved in what happened to Dolph. According to reports from inside the courtroom, he identified himself in surveillance footage and claimed he was the person firing a semi-automatic weapon during the attack. But the biggest moment came when Smith testified that Big Jook, whose real name was Anthony Mims and who was Yo Gotti's brother, allegedly placed a $100,000 bounty connected to what happened to Young Dolph. That accusation instantly became one of the most explosive parts of the entire case because people had speculated about possible connections for years, but now those claims were being spoken openly in court testimony. Smith also described how the alleged payment arrangement was supposed to work. According to his testimony, he and Justin Johnson were each expected to receive $40,000, while Hernandez Govan would allegedly receive a smaller share for coordinating parts of the operation and supplying weapons. Smith claimed the promised money never fully reached him before his arrest, saying he only received $800 up front. Things became even more controversial when Smith testified that after he was arrested, money allegedly connected to Big Jook's side was later used to help cover legal expenses through attorneys. That testimony sparked huge debate online and added another layer of attention to a case that was already being watched closely across the country. According to courtroom testimony, Cornelius Smith claimed that after the incident, he and Justin Johnson allegedly contacted Big Jook through FaceTime to say Young Dolph was gone. That testimony stunned a lot of people following the case because prosecutors presented it like the attack was being treated almost like a completed assignment instead of a personal conflict. The courtroom got even more intense when Deputy District Attorney Paul Hagerman stated in opening arguments that Big Jook had allegedly offered Justin Johnson more than just money. Prosecutors claimed there was also talk of a possible CMG record deal tied to the situation. That detail immediately exploded across social media because people connected it back to the history between Dolph and CMG. Fans started pointing out how Dolph had famously rejected signing to the label years earlier and built his own independent movement instead. Hearing allegations that a record deal may have been discussed during the planning of the attack shocked many people watching the trial unfold. In 2024, Justin Johnson was found guilty of first-degree charges and later sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. His brother, Jamarcus Johnson, had already pleaded guilty to being an accessory after the fact in connection to the case. Hernandez Govan, who prosecutors accused of helping organize the attack, was eventually acquitted after jurors decided there was not enough evidence to convict him beyond a reasonable doubt. Even with those verdicts, public debate around the case never slowed down, but one of the biggest twists in the entire story is that Big Jook himself never appeared in court to respond to the allegations, because by the time the trials were happening, he had already passed earlier that same year. On January 13, 2024, around 4:15 in the afternoon, Big Jook was outside Perignon Restaurant and Event Center on Winchester Road in Memphis, attending a repast following a funeral service for a family member. It was supposed to be a moment for relatives and friends to gather and pay respects. Then suddenly, according to investigators, several individuals reportedly arrived in a white Ford Explorer with dark tinted windows and black wheels, turning an already emotional day into another tragic moment that shook the city even more. Chaos suddenly erupted outside the restaurant, and panic broke out everywhere. Big Jook was hit during the incident along with another person attending the gathering. Memphis police and emergency crews rushed to the scene as panic spread through the area. Despite receiving medical attention, Anthony Big Jook Mims was pronounced gone at the scene at 47 years old. The tragedy hit even harder because family members had already been mourning another loss earlier that same day. Reports from the scene said Yo Gotti's mother was also there during the terrifying moment and had to run for safety after the incident started. That detail shook a lot of people because the family had just attended a funeral service hours before everything turned violent again. What was supposed to be a gathering for support and remembrance suddenly became another heartbreaking crime scene in Memphis. Deputy Chief Paul Wright later confirmed publicly that investigators believe the incident was targeted and not random violence, and according to police, whoever carried out the attack appeared to know exactly where Big Jook would be and when he would arrive. Memphis police later released images connected to a white Ford Explorer reportedly tied to the incident and offered a reward for information as they searched for suspects. By September 2024, authorities still had not announced any arrests connected to what happened to Big Jook, which only fueled even more speculation online and in the streets. Then people noticed something eerie about his final Instagram post, shared just one day before the incident. The message read, "They don't want to face you, they want to snake you. Stay alert to stay alive, watch your back at all times." Fans immediately started reposting it everywhere because of how chilling it sounded after what happened. Since then, many conversations around Memphis and across social media have centered on rumors that the incident may have been connected to retaliation tied to Young Dolph and Paper Route Empire. Investigators have not publicly confirmed those claims, but the speculation continues to keep the story surrounded by tension and unanswered questions. To this day, nobody has officially been charged or convicted in connection to what happened to Big Jook, and investigators have not publicly confirmed a motive behind the attack. Still, many people continue talking about the timing of everything because of how closely the events line up. According to courtroom testimony, Big Jook was allegedly connected to the bounty discussion surrounding what happened to Young Dolph in 2021. Something tragic happened to Dolph, and then years later, Big Jook's name was publicly mentioned during trial proceedings connected to the case. Before those trials could even fully unfold, Big Jook himself lost his life in Memphis, the very same city where Dolph passed away. That timeline alone fueled non-stop debate online and across the streets of Memphis. People kept saying the city never forgets old conflicts, especially when major names and deep loyalty are involved. Social media exploded with rumors, theories, and claims about possible retaliation connected to the violence surrounding both camps. That's when another major rumor started spreading fast, talk that Yo Gotti had allegedly placed money on whoever was responsible for what happened to Big Jook. Those claims have never been publicly confirmed by Gotti or law enforcement, but the rumors quickly took over blogs, live streams, and conversations across the internet. In Memphis culture, people often talk about loyalty and retaliation as major parts of street reputation, so the speculation instantly grabbed attention. Not long after Big Jook's passing, Yo Gotti made a public appearance at 42 Doug's concert in Detroit, which only added more focus to everything happening around him at the time. At the concert, Yo Gotti performed F U for the crowd, and even though he never directly spoke about Big Jook's passing during interviews or on stage, people online immediately started analyzing every move he made. The streets and social media were already full of rumors, and then things escalated even more when videos and reactions from an individual allegedly connected by rumors to what happened to Big Jook started circulating online. According to internet chatter and street speculation, the person many believed may have been involved reacted publicly to reports that a bounty had allegedly been placed on him. Clips and comments connected to the situation spread quickly across blogs and social media pages, with many viewers treating the statements like coded messages rather than direct responses. Fans immediately started debating what was really being said and whether the tension between both sides was still actively growing behind the scenes. For many people watching from the outside, the situation started looking like an endless cycle tied to loyalty, retaliation, and old street conflicts. Supporters of Young Dolph continued pointing back to the allegations surrounding Big Jook and the courtroom testimony connected to what happened to Dolph. To them, Dolph represented more than music. He was viewed as family, a mentor, and an important figure in Memphis culture. That's why so many people believe emotions around the situation never truly disappeared after Dolph's passing. Once the violence and accusations started years ago, many feel the damage spread far beyond rap music and turned into something much deeper, with every new event reopening old wounds and adding even more tension to an already painful story. In street culture, people often say retaliation doesn't happen on a schedule, it happens when the opportunity shows up. That's why so many conversations around Memphis keep circling back to timing, revenge, and payback connected to this entire situation. Supporters on different sides continue comparing what happened. To Big Jook, to the courtroom testimony about what happened to Young Dolph years earlier. To many watching, it feels like one violent moment kept triggering another, creating a cycle that never fully stopped. Now with rumors spreading online that rumors claimed Yo Gotti allegedly placed money on whoever may have been responsible for what happened to Big Jook. And now people are once again talking about the possibility of another dangerous chapter beginning. None of those claims have been confirmed publicly, but the speculation alone has kept tensions high across blogs, live streams, and social media discussions. Everybody keeps asking the same question: where does this cycle finally end? When you step back and look at the full timeline from 2014 until now, the story almost feels unreal because it started from something that originally looked like a simple business decision. Young Dolph reportedly turned down a CMG deal because he wanted to stay independent and build his own path. Over time, that rivalry allegedly grew into years of public tension, diss tracks, legal cases, rumors, and heartbreaking violence that impacted multiple families and people connected to both sides. The losses connected to this story have been devastating. Young Dolph passed away at 36 years old. Big Jook lost his life at 47. Justin Johnson received a life sentence after his conviction, while Cornelius Smith still faced legal proceedings tied to the case. Jamarcus Johnson pleaded guilty as an accessory after the fact. Families on all sides were left dealing with grief, trauma, and permanent scars from everything that unfolded over the years. Young Dolph's family has had to sit through years of court hearings, investigations, and non-stop public discussion about the tragedy, hearing painful details repeated again and again. A lot of people keep asking the same thing: how did everything spiral this far? What started as industry competition and rap rivalry eventually turned into something that left families grieving and entire communities divided. The arguments over status, respect, and titles like King of Memphis became much bigger than music over time. Court testimony and legal discussions also brought attention to claims that went beyond Dolph alone. Prosecutors alleged there were discussions involving possible bounties connected to several Paper Route Empire affiliates, including artists like Key Glock, Paper Route Woo, Big Moochie Grape, and Snoop bands. Those allegations shocked fans because they painted a picture of a conflict that allegedly stretched across multiple people tied to PRE, not just one rapper at the center of the feud. That's why so many observers say this story became larger than a simple rap beef years ago. To many people in Memphis, the rivalry grew into a battle between two powerful movements connected to music, influence, reputation, and street loyalty. Over time, the violence and accusations surrounding both camps turned the situation into something much darker than diss tracks or social media arguments, and real lives ended up affected by it. At the same time, Yo Gotti continued building a massive business empire through CMG and other ventures. His label became home to major artists like Glorilla, Moneybagg Yo, 42 Dugg, and ESTG, helping CMG grow into one of the biggest brands in hip-hop. Reports also highlighted Gotti expanding into business education and entrepreneurship while building long-term wealth outside of music. But despite all the success, the violence surrounding Memphis street politics still reached his family in the most tragic way possible when Big Jook lost his life outside a repast in his hometown. Right now, a lot of questions are still hanging over this entire situation. What happened to Big Jook remains unsolved, and Memphis police have continued investigating without publicly announcing any arrests or charges connected to the case. Authorities previously released information about a white Ford Explorer believed to be tied to the incident, but as of now, no major public breakthrough connected to that lead has been revealed. The person rumored online to be connected to what happened to Big Jook has also not been charged in relation to the case. Even with non-stop social media speculation and street talk, investigators have not officially confirmed many of the theories circulating online. The investigation remains open, which is why so many people continue watching closely for updates and new developments. Meanwhile, the legal fallout connected to Young Dolph's case is still unfolding too. Cornelius Smith continued facing major charges even after testifying during the trials tied to Justin Johnson and Hernandez Govin. Govin was ultimately acquitted after jurors decided prosecutors had not proven the case beyond a reasonable doubt. His legal team argued strongly that Smith was not a reliable witness and had motivation to cooperate in hopes of receiving favorable treatment in his own case. Throughout all of this, Yo Gotti has stayed mostly silent publicly. He has not directly responded to the allegations made in court about Big Jook, nor has he publicly addressed the rumors involving supposed bounties connected to retaliation claims. Instead, he has continued focusing on CMG, business ventures, and public appearances, while the conversations around Memphis violence continue growing louder online. But in Memphis culture, people often say silence can speak just as loudly as words. That's why fans immediately analyzed Gotti's appearance at a Detroit concert less than a week after his brother's passing. When he performed FU on stage, many viewers interpreted the moment as a statement that he was still standing strong despite everything happening around him. If the rumors about an alleged bounty connected to what happened to Big Jook are true, or even if people in the streets believe they're true, then many feel this situation has entered another dangerous chapter that still hasn't reached an ending. The conversations around Memphis keep growing because, to a lot of people, this story now represents something much larger than just a conflict between a few rap figures. It became an example of what can happen when street loyalty, music industry power, personal pride, and public reputation all crash together at the same time. From the beginning of his career, Young Dolph built his image around independence and self-reliance. He openly talked about wanting ownership over his music and his business decisions instead of signing under someone else's label. Through Paper Route Empire, he created his own movement and developed artists around him while building a loyal fan base that respected his approach. That independent success became one of the biggest parts of his identity in hip-hop culture. Supporters of Dolph still point back to the heartbreaking circumstances surrounding his passing in 2021. On the day he lost his life, Dolph was reportedly in Memphis helping with community efforts connected to Thanksgiving and visiting Makita's butter cookies when the incident happened. For many fans, that detail made the tragedy hit even harder because they viewed him as somebody actively giving back to his city while continuing to support local businesses and neighborhoods he cared about. Court testimony later added even more controversy to the case by introducing allegations involving money, influence, and possible motives tied to the rivalry. Many people online argued that the courtroom confessions and witness statements revealed details the public had only speculated about for years. Others questioned the credibility of certain witnesses and continued debating what parts of the story were fully proven. Either way, the case exposed how complicated and layered these situations can become once street conflicts, business relationships, legal systems, and public attention all get mixed together behind closed doors. According to courtroom testimony and ongoing public speculation, Big Jook was allegedly connected to setting events in motion that later changed multiple lives forever. Then years later, he lost his life in Memphis during a targeted incident of his own, which immediately caused people online to draw comparisons between both tragedies. What made the situation even more eerie for many fans was his final Instagram post shared just one day before his passing. The message read, "They don't want to face you, they want to snake you." After the incident, that post spread everywhere across social media because people felt like it sounded almost like a warning. For years, many people viewed Big Jook as somebody who stayed influential behind the scenes rather than constantly speaking publicly. That's why his passing shocked Memphis so heavily and instantly fueled more rumors about retaliation and unfinished business connected to the Young Dolph case. Since then, conversations online have continued focusing on the idea that whoever may have targeted Big Jook was allegedly responding to old violence tied to what happened to Dolph. Investigators have not confirmed those theories publicly, but the speculation remains non-stop. Now another layer has been added because of the rumors about an alleged bounty tied to Big Jook's passing. According to online discussions and street talk, the person rumored to be connected to the incident has continued reacting publicly instead of disappearing from attention. That behavior surprised many people because Memphis has already seen how dangerous these conflicts can become when retaliation enters the picture. Fans and bloggers keep debating whether those reactions are confidence, recklessness, or something in between. What makes this entire story so disturbing to many observers is how quickly one violent act allegedly led to another, creating a chain reaction that still feels unfinished. People keep describing it as a cycle where every tragedy creates pressure for another response, and every response creates even more tension afterward. That's why so many discussions around Memphis now center on one difficult question: who finally steps in and breaks the cycle before more lives are destroyed by it? Right now, it feels like everybody connected to this situation is waiting for the next move, and every move keeps costing somebody their life. Every new chapter brings another grieving family, another funeral, another heartbreaking headline coming out of Memphis. One moment it's a celebration of music and success, and the next moment the city is dealing with another tragedy tied to violence, rumors, and retaliation. Memphis has always been home to legendary talent. Young Dolph left a huge mark on the city, and Yo Gotti built one of the biggest movements in hip-hop through CMG. But while the music keeps growing, the pain surrounding these street conflicts keeps growing too. Social media moves fast, blogs chase the next viral story, and people jump to new drama before families even have time to process their losses. Situations like this deserve deeper conversations because real lives, real families, and entire communities are being affected behind all the headlines. Long live Young Dolph, and respect to every life lost to violence in Memphis over the years. This story still feels unfinished, and a lot of people believe there are more twists, answers, and developments still waiting to come out. Now I want to hear from y'all. Do you think the rumors about Yo Gotti allegedly putting money on the person connected to what happened to Big Jook hold any weight? Or do you think the internet is just running wild with speculation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown as this story keeps unfolding. Stay safe out here.